Gold keeps falling, dollar keeps rising, 10-year T-note keeps rising, the 2-year T-note is kind of flat, but what is not flat, it is the US Congress. They passed a bill to not have a lockdown at least for another 45 days, which should lead to some relief rallies, especially when it comes to the S&P 500, which we are now expected to have a bottom. From this week, I expect it to go higher, and then maybe next week, another week, we come back down to 42.40, and that's going to be the bottom for, hopefully, for this year. Yes, we have rising interest rates, but even in that landscape, last year we also had the same seasonality. We were rising quite rapidly from the bottom of around 10th to 14th of October. Nasdaq is even better. They haven't even come down to where we were last year, even though there was some sideways movement. I expect this year to also give us some bullishness, where 13,500 is at the expected bottom, and if it doesn't, then it's just going to be a reversal, looking for a reversal to go up again, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because over now in Q4, we're expecting consumers to start spending a lot of money again, and we're expecting businesses to make a lot of money again, and everything is just good and dancy. So gold are expected to rise now the first week, and then another should peak around 25th of October. And we're expecting, as I said, S&P 500, Nasdaq, and Dow Jones to all have a bottom around 1st of October. With the yen pairs, I expect them to also have a bottom now. We saw that Aussie yen, we saw New Zealand yen, we saw Aussie yen hitting monthly target. We saw CAD yen hitting monthly target. We saw New Zealand yen hitting monthly target. And most important one, we saw USD yen hitting monthly target. We're not done yet. We are still gonna go until the Bank of Japan says, "Hold on, we don't want it to rise anymore." So at this point, any pullback is good as gold as to go higher. So the deeper one is 40, back down to 47. The better one, which is more like weekly trade, which it would be this week, we think that, well, another chance should be around 149. So there is 200 pips difference there. And then going higher, up to 150.25. But the overall target is 152. Okay, so we did some technical analysis on USD. That was not the point, but let's go back to where I wanted to go. So this week we have RBA, we have Australia interest rate, we have New Zealand interest rate. What generally tends to happen in that week is that it rises the first couple of days until the meeting happens, and then we fall. So if there's nothing new positively, aggressively, we're expecting these ones to fall. If you go over to New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, for example, which is very high, which we already done the bullishness on this one, and it does fall down. But we are currently having against Japanese yen, which is also quite bearish still, I would argue. So there is a difference here of, okay, so we are in a bearish trend. We expect to continue bearishness on the yen pairs. We're having pullbacks potentially in New Zealand. I would still go long on those pullbacks. It depends. If it says something, bullishness, then we'll just go bullish. But generally speaking, that nothing normally happens is that they just say, okay, we're gonna watch, we're gonna look, we're gonna peek, and then we will look for the future. What is important to note that Westpac has said that we are expecting 10% chance of a rate hike. So most markets are pricing in no change. We had the PMI out of China this morning, which came in at 50.2, which is great, compared to 49.7, which is great. Manufacturing is the most important one, and it has to be above 50, and it has been above 50 for the first time since March 2023, which is great. Great. I then want us to go through just to have a little look. Significant increase in bond yields. There's uncertainty about the economic outlook remains large. We have also seen PCE coming down this week. We saw PCE coming in at, what was that? 4.9, I think it was, which was down from the previous month, which is all great, good and goody, which you can see here. 3.9, sorry, down from 4.3, which is great. PCE is core consumption expenditures, which is basically what exactly are retail or consumers paying. And it has reduced, which is great. And then core month over month was 0.1, which is great. That signals, 1.2 year over year. It is very volatile, though. It's not necessarily that's going to be every month, but if it does, that is in line or a bit below in line of expectation. This one should be about 2%, give or take. As I mentioned, gold, we are expecting gold to go higher. But that's not the chart, is it? The charts are bearish gold, and gold just made a new lower low. And a market is probably going to continue lower. So for seasonality purposes, what was September supposed to be like? September for seasonality was bearish. And what happened? It was bearish with a little bit of high at 21st. We are still expecting this one to be there. So it hit the target for the month, good and dancy, and now you are expecting a rebound. Don't buy that just because you are buying it. It's probably going to fall a bit more, so just be patient. Just be patient. That's the same thing for euro dollar. We have hit a target. We have had a rebound now. I don't know if that is still going to happen, but even though our overall goal for the dollar to continue higher, this one continue lower, we still need to be cautious. I don't think this is going to be the high. If you go over to monthly pivot points, we see that the best price is 107, which is up here. It's kind of much better to it is much better to sell up there than to sell down there. I'm still very this is not the setup I would like to have, and then all the way down to 103.50. It is not what I generally would do, but it is what it is. Australian dollar, US dollar. Same thing with dollar. That is around the sell price. I was discouraging traders to think about selling there, even though that might be that might be the place where it sells. It's still a range, right? And even if it breaks lower, you're like, well, then we're very close to the target. So it is a range, and that also implicates on the pivot points for this month. And yes, we can continue below the target of as we did last month, but in August. But I really want us to stay away from this one. Pound dollar has a long way to come up to 123.42 or 124.58. It is still in the interest of dollar bullishness, and I would argue that we want to come up here and then look for reversal on the 1 hour before doing anything. I really want to be cautious. I don't want to tell you this is not a trading advice whatsoever anyways, but I don't want you to go into anything. So what can happen on New Zealand dollar today is that we can go higher and then fall down. It all depends on what the new Bank of New Zealand is going to tell us. They are probably going to tell us that they are going to peak and they're not going to do anything. And how do you know that, Ivan? How do you understand? How do you even project that, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we are going to do all these different things? If you go to trading economics, for example, and you go to countries, and you go to New Zealand, and it wasn't there, of course, Australia, New Zealand, and you go to inflation rate. What is inflation rate right now? It is currently peaked or stopped at 5.5. Okay. Does that mean that interest rates are going to go higher? Not necessarily. Okay. What about unemployment rate? Still very low. Okay. What about GDP? GDP growth rate is 0.9. It is very low. It is only inflation of the top three most important macroeconomic indicators are relatively okay. So it's only inflation. Okay, so what about inflation rate month over month? It is declining. Okay. Okay. What about manufacturing? Manufacturing PMI is 4.6, which is not great. What about consumer confidence, which is 80? It should be around 100, which is very low. Okay. What about retail sales? It's negative. What about business confidence? It is still very low. Or is it actually higher? Oh, then my eyes forgot that they were has actually increased. Okay, cool. That's a good one. Okay, so generally speaking, what I'm looking at inflation rate is high. Did I look at interest rate earlier? Yeah, okay, I did. Inflation rate is high, though it is peaking. Monthly is peaking. GDP is low. Unemployment rate is low, which is great. Business and consumer confidence is not where so consumer confidence is not where it's supposed to be. Business is. Manufacturing is horrible. It's showing that we're contracting. So that is enough evidence to say that we shouldn't. And that's the easy way of going about doing a very short assessment of what we are supposed to be doing. Australian dollar, US dollar is generally seasonality wise going higher in October. And New Zealand dollar is supposed to rise in October, though the first few days might have a dip. Just saying that as well. Oil is supposed to have a bearish trend in October, though the first couple of week is bullish. And when we all go over to gold, we are seeing also oil. Sorry, we are seeing that it is quite bullish already. We already hit 96. And with the new month coming in, we are probably going to closer to 98 before we close down for 99.50 before we close down, and we might even go to 100. If we don't hit center pivot and we go directly straight up, then we're probably going to hit 100 before we're even going to see the end of the month. Sorry, before we see 8th of October and then falling again. So going into Aussie yen. It has come down quite something. It is great. First buying opportunity is 95.88. Next one is 95.45, and the other one is 95, give or take 94.80. CAD yen, another one, is coming down hard. It should come down harder, by the way. 109.20, 108.33. If we look at the previous month and how September went, we went down to M2, up to target, and we went even above target. And then we also gave us another entry on the central pivot. I got knocked out at M2, and then I didn't enter again because I was in daddy duties. Australian dollar again went back down to M2, came down again to central pivot almost twice before reaching the highs. What I'm expecting for this month across the yen pairs is that either they are not going to go down to center pivot and then go straight up and then start trickle down. I expect the peak to be around 21st of October, maybe 22nd, maybe 20th. So that is give or take 21st of October, plus minus a couple of days. I expect it to be bullish, and I expect it to be quite aggressive. That all depends on the USD yen, by the way. If this one goes directly higher now, up to 151, we already hit 150. We had a reaction here, not a lot, but we had a small reaction. If we continue in this pace, we are going to see Bank of Japan coming in and kick us in the leg. I don't know how deep that's going to be or how long it's going to be, but I'm mostly going to see. I'm not going to trade it as the first Bank of Japan. I'm going to be like, okay, that's a buying opportunity, and if they do it again, I will leave it alone. And they normally do it around monthly target. They didn't do it this month. They did last year. They will probably do it again in October if this is not starting to have a bit of a deeper pullback. But it's fundamentally correct way to do it. Anyways, New Zealand yen, very parabolic, very high, 88.69 looks like a great monthly entry. 87.94 looks like a great monthly entry. I don't know if we're going to get those. If we get those before 8th, that's going to be like, I don't know about that though, bro. But I expect this one to aggressively go higher and then fall 21st of October, something in that direction at least. So I don't know if I'm able to get an entry here. I want a reversal in the shorter term. It is a pullback. It is just, a pullback. This is not like, woo, great. I love it. I love the idea of buying here. This looks to me like it wants to continue a bit down before it goes higher. But of course, once we go into, new higher high, pullback, or even again, it's just wait for it to happen. And if it starts doing that, Lord have mercy. So that is Aussie yen coming a bit down. Wait for it to go back up again. Reversal. CAD yen. Wait for the reversal. Euro yen has the reversal. Made a new high. Great. Though in a range, I need a new higher high. I needed to break 158.30 before I can do anything again. Pound yen, beautiful reversal. Beautiful. Oh my lord. It is quite early. It's still not my entry. My entry is going to be up here, which is the first pullback and then the second pullback. And then we can look for some great trade setups. So right now it's very early. But yet again, we have S&P500. We have NAS. We have US 30. We have gold. We have GPY pairs. Very clear expectations for them in October going forward. All of them to go higher. Yen pairs going higher. Everything else going higher. And then that's that. So I wish you all the best for October. And we're going to have another meeting with the mentorship students later today. Until then, I'll see you soon.